Ladies and gentlemen, it's Zoomers time again. Season might have finished, but so much football, so much sport to look forward to in the company of Gibraltar's finest, Charlie McCann. But we really have to start and tip our metaphorical caps to the #1 bestseller that is John Richardson from the Sunday Mirror. Rico, congratulations.
Thank you very much, Rob. Thank you, Charlie. I feel like Beatles. #1.
Brilliant.
Amazing. To be fair, it's the subject matter. I mean, everybody loves Gazza, don't they? You know, some good stories, and I think it's got through to people. And in this age of COVID, it's nice to have a laugh, isn't it?
Absolutely.
How does it work, Rico? Does the book company or your the publishers, what do? They do all the publicity, and it's like the top of the pops. Is it? How does it all work?
Yeah, well, it's the sales of sports biographies, which is updated hourly, I think, by advanced sales and other sales, because obviously a lot is now done, by delivery rather than going to your bookshop if you can find a bookshop open. And so, but it's been well publicised. It was serialised in 3 newspapers this week, which obviously helped it. And I say, Gazza is such a character. I think people still love him. I mean, most of it is anecdotal and it's funny. Some of it's serious, of what he's gone through. And, obviously I'm very pleased. You never know what's going to happen for a book. I mean, the Gary Speed book, my last book, stuck at #2. It was kept off by Peter Crouch. A bit like Ken Dodd keeping the Beatles off the top, isn't it? Crouch, in fairness, Crouch's book's very good, very good. And
listen, show us, because we're going to give away.
I just happen to have one next to me, so
let's have a look.
As you do.
Sleeps with one under his pillow. There is Our Gazza. And we've got to say, we're giving away, courtesy of Rico, we're giving away a copy. All you have to do is subscribe to Switchbox TV, and you could win yourself a copy of that book. Rico, Charlie, we've got to stay with you, Rico, really, because I suppose the hot topic of the week is the fact that Newcastle takeover isn't happening. Yeah,
I mean, what a saga. It's gone longer than the mousetrap, hasn't it? It's gone on and on and on. And, a lot of Newcastle fans will be feeling very down today because obviously they had delusions of grandeur, of being able to, spend on whoever, bring in Maurizio Pochettino, people like that. The feeling is, the excuse is from the PIF and all different people is that, time has run out, they've had enough of it. Now, I don't buy into that, basically. I think the Crown Prince, who could take over the world if he wanted, he's one of the richest men in the world. I think he's just said, right, I've got bored of this. I'm going to move on somewhere else. I'm going to look at another club to take over. Newcastle's had their chance. And away he goes, leaving Mike Ashley with £17 million. That was
quite bad, isn't it, that?
Well, that wasn't bad, was it? £17 million for something that's not gone through. And now be scurrying round for other interests. Supposed to be interest from America. I don't honestly know how serious that is. But at the moment, Newcastle find themselves in a vacuum, in limbo, which is terrible for the fans. But I've got to say, I always have my suspicions when I hear the name Amanda Staveley. She's failed a couple of times on other takeovers. And I'm afraid, I know that she's been leaking stuff, to certain journalists. Well, I'm not blaming the journalists, that's their job. I mean, I wish she was leaking stuff to me. But I think that has upset a few people as well. Mike Ashley has always said that, once a deal is done, you'll be the first to hear of it. It won't be played out in the media. And don't forget, this has been played out in the media since January. So you always have your suspicions. I thought, personally, the Premier League would eventually say yes to it, because otherwise it creates problems with our government who deal with Saudi Arabia, etc., etc. But they've pulled the plug themselves, and that, as I say, leaves Newcastle in limbo.
Charlie, I mean, I was thinking this morning, I know we're going to talk about Celtic and Rangers. You've been writing ahead of the start of the SPL. We need Newcastles. We need like a Manchester City to come with big money to not to break the boredom, but to break the stranglehold of the big, what, 4, big 6?
Yeah, we do. Well, the league needs a strong Newcastle United. And as you say, the mousetrap, this has really gone on too long, and it had to come to a decision had to be made. And you feel sad. You felt going into that it was almost a new dawn with a new Newcastle United, a new Leeds United back in the Premier League. This is going to be some year. And now it's taken some of the gloss off it, and you've got to feel for Newcastle United fans. Blimey, there's 50-odd thousand in. I remember being there when they drew 2-2 with Ipswich, when they went up back up to the Premier League one on the last day of the season, and the atmosphere was just sensational. It's just a fantastic football city. It's a fantastic. And this is another kick in the goalies that they could have done without, but a decision has been made, and we've got to get on.
Let's just talk about the start of the SPL. Interesting article from David Conn in the Guardian this morning saying, how long can a league where only 2 people can possibly win it, Celtic going for 10 in a row, sustain interest as much as anything else? Somehow the SPL does because of the great rivalry, but it's also reflected across the leagues in Italy, in France with PSG, Bayern Munich, I think I've just done 8 in a row. Barcelona, Real Madrid are only going to win. I mean, I'm not saying it's getting boring, but I'm saying it's getting boring.
There's a reason for that, because it's getting boring. It is. You've got, my bet, coming from a betting perspective, you've got 66-1, the third favourites, Aberdeen. They play Rangers tomorrow, and it's 200-1 bar. Now, that really shouldn't be 200-1. It should be 5,000-1. But because of what happened in the extraordinary season of Leicester City, that can never happen again. But it should be. It is a 2-horse race. The good thing is Rangers have had a very good pre-season, it would appear. And of course, tomorrow's game, tomorrow's game against Aberdeen at Tannadice is a big game. And I've been looking into that as well, and looking ahead at Aberdeen are getting ready for part capacity, and they reckon now, with social distancing of 2 meters and with family arenas, they're prepared already for 9,000 spectators to be at Pittodrie. Did I say that? To be at Pittodrie, not for this game, of course, but going forward. And they've already sold 8,000 season tickets. So, great to see that it's sort of forward looking. Again, this is a game between the second team in the league and the third team. Let's get it right. Rangers did have the league at some, around about Christmas last year. But Aberdeen is 7-1 to win tomorrow. 7-1 this is the third best team against the second best team, and of course it's at Pittodrie. Albeit with behind closed doors. But Rangers, I don't know. They've got a big decision to make about the centre forward. There's talk of him going. I think back to Nice.
Yeah, it's Morales, isn't it, who scored all their goals, replaced those goals.
Again, there are. I know some Rangers fans who says he's never really hacked it against Celtic. And of course, keeps getting sent off against Celtic. And of course, he missed a penalty in the League Cup final when I thought Rangers were very, very good. And then when they went to Celtic and they were outstanding and played Celtic off the park, and then you look at the table at the end of the year and what's gone wrong. Because at that stage, Rangers were every bit as good as Celtic. I know Celtic won the first game in the Old Firm at Ibrox, and were good value for that as well. But I think this is a big year. But in answer to your initial question, yeah, it is boring. And that's why we wanted Newcastle. We want a strong Leeds United. And we want a strong Everton as well, in my opinion. But that's not going to happen.
Rico, is it a concern for you? Does it not keep you awake at nights? But, I mean, Bayern Munich, 8 in a row. Juventus, 9 in a row. Barcelona, Real Madrid. I mean, you can talk to your blue in the face about, can Sheffield United... But you pretty much know it's going to be Liverpool, Man United, Man City, Chelsea, don't you?
Down to one thing, and it's money, isn't it? It's funny, listening to Charlie, and I agree with everything he said there about Scottish football, because I've got an interest in it. Obviously with Gazza up at Rangers, I spent some some great times up there and got into it more than I had before. And, you know, you look at it and you do worry. I was looking at, I love looking at old league tables. You know, that often on Twitter they have an old league table from the 60s or the 70s. There was one, I think, from the late 60s, and looked at the Scottish First Division then. And I think Hibs were top and, you know, Aberdeen, second or third. I was looking for Rangers and Celtic, and both of them were well down the league. And I thought, you know, that's more interesting, isn't it? You know, than seeing either Celtic, well, as you know, it's been Celtic for the last 9 years. Celtic at the top, Rangers second. As Charlie says, I mean, you don't want that. You know, you want some more interest for everybody. You know, and when a lot of English players went up there, you know, mainly to Rangers, I think there was more interest south of the border, wasn't it, in what was going on. And you'd like something like that to happen again. I know we've got Steven Gerrard, Gary McAllister at Rangers, Neil Lennon at Celtic with English connections. But yeah, you do worry the way football's going. And let's face it, we've talked about the Premier League, and we all agree that it's now probably between Manchester City and Liverpool. So you can't count anybody else in. You're then scrambling around for Champions League places, which gets my goat as well. You know, the Champions League, the all-empowering Champions League. You know, we want variety. We want interest. You know, you want to go into the unknown where you don't know. I mean, Charlie was quoting those betting figures, which are incredible, and I think that says it all.
Transfer activity this week: 41 million pound for Nathan Ake to Manchester City. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk about him. A good signing in your view, Rico?
Yeah, I think he's a very good player. He's a ball-playing sort of player. I mean, but let's go on to transfer fees. We've talked in the past during the COVID-19 outbreak, you know, when it was at its height. We hope that football would have a reality check, that transfer fees... No chance. And I think at times when there's people ill and people can't, you know, they've lost their jobs, they can't do this, they can't do that, these sort of fees are obscene, you know, for what's going on at the moment. You know, Man United are prepared to pay almost 100 million for Jadon Sancho.
Unbelievable.
I can't get my head around it. But your initial question, Rob, you know, in today's money terms, 41 million for Nathan Ake isn't that bad. I think he's a good player. He will improve the squad. But, you know, all signs of reality check have gone out the window.
Charlie, Nathan Ake for you. He's no Virgil van Dijk, is he?
No, and that's it in a nutshell. You're not telling me Jurgen Klopp will be sort of having sleepless nights about designing that acquisition. Not at all. Not at all. I think it's a safe option. I think Nathan Ake, we've all known how good Nathan Ake was. Chelsea decided he wasn't good enough for them a few years ago. He's played well. He's defended well. He scores in a pretty moderate team where he gets a lot of practice at defending. Not quite for me. Not quite for me. It's not the signing if Manchester City I was expecting. I've got to be honest. I expected somewhere along that. And of course, he's left-sided. You know, where's America Laporte? America Laporte and Nathan Ake can't play together, can they? So that's the surprising thing for me. I thought he'd build a team around Laporte, and that, with that in mind, it had to be a right-sided central defender. Don't know whether he's going to play three at the back or whatever. He's got somebody else, and he's going to move Stones and other people. I was surprised if that is the one central defensive signing.
Are you surprised that Manchester United are pursuing Jadon Sancho? They talk about 100 million euros. There's a story, it could be 60 million with add-ons. Are you a Jadon fan, Charlie?
Well, you know I'm not, but that's it. The most worrying thing this week is the fact that Manchester United have got to get rid of some of these people who are surplus to requirements. Everton have got to get rid of the next thing, you know. Everton are linked with Jesse Lingard. God, line. There was something on Twitter, I don't know if you know, in the last game of the season, whether this is true or not, some guy showed a betting slip where he had £10 to win on Jesse Lingard not to get an assist or a goal in the Premier League in the 2019-2020 season. And of course, Kasper Schmeichel cocked that up in the 94th minute or something like that, which made his bet from a winning one into a losing one. Jesse Lingard, not for me. I know he a couple of years ago, I thought, he scored FA Cup winning goals and he looked a good player, but something's rotten in the state of Denmark there for me, and I don't want him at Goodison. Jadon Sancho, whether he is a flat track bully, whether he becomes a great, I don't know, but I have my reservations.
Jesse Lingard in the papers saying that he's had problems domestically this season. One of the reasons where perhaps he's not shone as well. Rico, it leads me on to another aspect that Mesut Ozil says he's not going anywhere, and Gareth Bale says he's not going anywhere either. And on the kind of money that they're on play, when Charlie's talking about getting rid of players, this has become a major problem, hasn't it?
Well, it's like we've got the furlough scheme over here. People don't want to go back to work anymore, do they? Because, they're being paid full whack to sit on the backsides at home. And this is what's happening with the two you've mentioned. And I'm surprised at Gareth Bale, to be honest. I know Gareth a little bit through Wales, and I always thought that he wanted to keep playing football, but he's sitting on £600,000 a week. There's obviously things going on with Zidane there, and, he wants to have the last laugh. But is he having the last laugh? He's not playing any football. The only football he'll play in the near future is with Wales. Will he be playing in September? And you look at Ozil, he's been bombed out. But again, is it his fault that somebody offered him £350,000 a weweek? It's not.
I was going to say, it's not his fault, is it? If somebody offered you that, you're going to take it, aren't you?
Yeah. And also, we've made a mistake, but we want to shove you out to Turkey now on £100,000 a week. You're going to say no, aren't you? So, in one sense, I can't blame the players, but another sense, you're a little bit disappointed that they're happy not to play football. But again, it's the modern world. These people pay ridiculous wages, and that's what you get.
Just one I want to ask you about. I don't know if you know, it's all transfer rumour at this time of the season, but Raúl Jimenez to Manchester United's got a big shout this week. Any truth in that, do you feel?
I have written it in the past. So, yeah, I think, we discussed, didn't we, Charlie and I, the other week about Raúl Jimenez, and we think he's the best, probably, natural centre-forward in the country. So you'd expect Man United to go in for him. He is 29. He's no spring chicken, but I think there's a few years ahead of him. And, I think he would do a good job for any of the top sides. I don't think he'd fit in so much at Liverpool, but any of the others.
It says something about the standing of the FA Cup final. It's taken us 20 minutes to even come round to it, Charlie. From a betting point of view, Arsenal and Chelsea, how are we looking?
Chelsea 11-10 to win in 90 minutes, draw at Arsenal 5-2. Chelsea going for their 9th. I think they're on at 8, and Arsenal are on 13, isn't it? Arsenal the winning most club FA Cup, and I think both managers do deserve credit for getting through the semi-finals. And one of them's going to win a trophy, and good luck to them. The two youngest managers, Arteta, and Arteta, big call leaving Ozil out of the 9 substitutes in the semi-final. What they do with him, I no idea. I'd love to Ozil maybe to get it, in 10 years' time when he looks back on his career, whether he will look back fondly at this period when he comes out and says things like that. If I'm your agent, though, Rob, I suppose I've got to say stay and take your money. But I just wonder, in 10 years' time, when he looks back, will he look back on an unfulfilled career? You can only take so much money, I would think, and he's a very, very wealthy man, and the same with Gareth. Gareth is when he was at Southampton and when he was at Spurs, I just thought that he was just a superstar, and Real Madrid and what he's done in Champions League, and that's sour. And that again, I would love him to come back and play for. Wouldn't it be nice if he came back and said to Southampton, where it all started, give me 50 grand a week, and I'll do a job for you, And so
it's a lovely thought. I tell you what, I still.
It's a fairy tale, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a fairy tale. he'd still be the best left. If he couldn't cut it up front, he'd still be the best left back in the world wherever he went. Charlie, who just briefly, who wins it for you? Arsenal, Chelsea? Who do you fancy?
I fancy Chelsea, but we've waxed lyrical about Pulisic and things like that. And I do like Chelsea. I like the job they did on Wolves. Got those 2 goals, bang, end of game. Yes, I do. I think Arsenal. Again, there are some people who might think that Arsenal's name's on the cup. I think after, but no, Chelsea. I think Chelsea are slightly superior. One thing we're talking about left backs as well. Just talking about the SPL, we were talking 2 of the major, people who've come down south to the Premier League in recent times. You can't put them in the same breath. But Virgil van Dijk is, now the best, and he had a long period. And this Kieran Tierney's good,
Good player, yeah. He's a really good player. I've seen a lot of him, yeah.
This lad's a good lad. This lad's a good player, and I think he's going to be a real asset for Arsenal. And whoever scouted him, everybody knew about Kieran Tierney at Celtic, and yet I know Liverpool were interested, Everton were interested. Yeah, for a long time it all went cold, and it was only one club, Arsenal. That was the one, Arsenal, he was going to know, and I think they deserve great credit for that. He's a good lad.
Rico, for you, Arsenal, Chelsea?
Well, the 2 sides are great to watch going forward. Both of them can't defend. I think Chelsea will just squeeze it. I think Frank Lampard's done a superb job this season. He's come in. A lot of people thought, favouritism, Frank Lampard, what has he done? He's had 1 season at Derby. I think he's proved a few people wrong. Finished 3rd. They're in the FA Cup final. There was a transfer embargo, which I think for the summer, I think that did him a favour because it gave him a free hit. And I think he's taken full advantage of it. And I like him as a person. He's great to deal with. I'm pleased for him. And it'd be nice for him. Obviously, nice for Mikel Arteta as well if he won the cup. But no, I think Chelsea will squeeze it.
It is amazing to think when you've got the #1 bestseller, Our Gazza, that there is another book out this week. You're better than How to Fix Modern Football. Chris Sutton, I read a little bit, is serialised this morning. One thing I want to talk about, he said he wants tackling back, which is something I've been banging on for ages about. Today's robots need to show human qualities again. He says that we have to say that the likes of Best and Maradona are better than Messi and Ronaldo because they got tackled waist high. I'm not saying we advocate tackles waist high, but oh my gosh, every time anybody goes near someone, the referee blows his whistle. I mean, Spanish football for me became unwatchable because it's just non-contact football, and that's not football.
But it doesn't help if the forward, every time he's touched, screams and goes to the ground.
He knows he's going to get hit, Charlie. He knows. Why wouldn't he do it? He knows as soon as he dives or he feigns, the referee's going to... I mean, Joey Jones, my great hero, used to say, a great tackle is as important as a great goal, and also for the fans as well. It can turn a game. You're not allowed to tackle anymore. It does my head in.
There is a happy medium, though, Rob. We don't want to go back to...
I agree with that.
We don't. We don't at all. And we don't want to go with 2-footed tackles and things like that.
No, but there has to be some contact, Charlie.
Of course there has. Of course it's a contact game. But please don't think it's just the referees or the officials. If I'm refereeing a game, and how do I know that bloke hasn't screamed and he is actually injured? And every single one now is and you're putting the referee in a very difficult situation. If I've screamed, I say play on. And it is the one occasion in 1,000 almost that, that the player has actually been injured. But yes, tackling is an absolute integral part of football. It's just, the footballers, I think, the players have got to take, I think, more responsibility as well as the officials.
Rico? Well,
covering it live, obviously, you hear the screams, don't you? In fact, one of the papers had a top 10 squealers. Almiron and Newcastle was top. I've seen, obviously, some of these games, and you hear them scream, and you think, get get up. You feel like going on there and booting them where it hurts, you know, to make sure, that does hurt. This hasn't. I agree with Charlie. The players have got to help themselves. The referees, you know, they don't know. If somebody's screaming, in the old days, you thought, well, they must have broken their leg. These days, it might be, an eyelash has gone. It's shocking. It's shocking. I mean, tackling has gone out of the game. I think it's got worse now with no crowds because it's taken a lot of the urgency out of the game. And, referees are on top of it. Nowadays, you get booked for taking the ball, but then you take the man. Well, the man's there, isn't he? How can you take the ball and not touch the man? But no, I'm with Charlie. I think we need it back. We don't want to go back to the Chopper Harris and Norman Hunter days, but we need a happy medium.
Rico, just show us your number one best-selling book again. You see, and do you know what? The great thing is it hasn't got an orange sticker on, which I'm amazed about, to be honest with you.
What for sale? £1?
Yeah, 10 for 1. And we're going to give a copy of Our Gazza away, courtesy of John Richardson, the number one bestseller. All you have to do is subscribe. It's free. Subscribe to Switchbox TV to get yourself a chance of winning the bestseller. Rico, thanks as always. Charlie, thanks as always.
Hey guys, have a lovely week.
Charlie, see you, Rob.
Ta-ra, lads.
See you, Rico. Cheers, Charlie, thanks.